if you feel that you missed the boat of buying your first investment property in 2025, this is your wake-up call. In this video, we're gonna break it down if that's the case, why the end of the year matters, and I'll give you 3 simple steps that you can implement and make it actually happen by the end of the year and get your feet in the game. Hi everyone, my name is Alex Mancaster, and full disclosure, I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of Washington, but I actually started my investment journey before I actually got the license. So in these videos, I'll just be breaking down what I've done and what I do and all my procedures that you can use them as a guide and move forward to buy your first investment property, maybe up to 5 investment properties, or even if that would be the case, even scale farther on. All right, so let's see if actually in 2025 getting into investment is too late. So we're still like 1 month far away from end of the year, and I perhaps can get you like a good strategy that you can use and actually make it happen. Now let's get back to our original question. Is it too late to buy your first investment property in 2025? You get to choose. Everyone is saying like 2025 is not the best year to invest, you know, like just because rates are high, prices are high, low inventory, not really much that you can choose from. And that varies like from market to market because real estate is being very localized. So I'm talking about my market where we are in. My opinion about that, so the 2025, even banks are saying, you know, like the market is kind of frozen. So it doesn't go up and it's not crashing, right? I think it's much better instead of having, you know, like high appreciation. Like for 2025, I think it's good to explore as an option just because this is basically like a real what's going on in the market today. You don't have the hype and you don't have the crash. And this is actually that kind of market that you want to underwrite those deals and see if those make sense or not on the numbers. Because if later on goes the appreciation, that's going to be like a good bonus for it. So, and another thing that you may think, even if it's 2025 or later, your emotional reframe. Because a lot of people are staying and waiting for that year to you know, like to time the market to get the best year possible. The thing is, I know people, it was 2017 when I wanted to buy my first home. It didn't happen back then, but the thing is, I know people waiting since 2017 for the crash and time the market, right? And from 2017, maybe not always the case, but from let's say 2015 and prior, those homes have doubled in value. So those people are still staying on the sideline waiting for the right time to come. So I would say you just get into the game and then wait, because real estate is something that will not appreciate overnight, right? Unless you do like a very, very good flip. So probably you can gain like a good equity in it. Otherwise, it's just a delayed gratification. So it's a long-term play game. But let's break it down why it's important the end of the year. So basically when you buy an investment property, that is considered as a small business, an actual business. And if you buy the property and put it in service by the end of the year, it will be treated as this year started the business and you can get all the tax benefits the same year when you put in service. We will break it down in another video, like more detailed, what you get as a tax benefits. I'm not a CPA, you'll have to consult a CPA, but anyway, this is basically how I like to say, this is tax advantages left on the table. Can you actually buy by the end of the year an investment property because it's only like a month left from the time that this video was published? Probably yes, if you commit to it and execute. For the sake of this video, I'm just gonna keep it stupid simple. So you actually need 3 steps to make it happen. Call an agent, call a lender, and learn how to analyze deals under 10 minutes. Hang on for it, we'll break it down. Calling an agent seems like very, very, very simple step. And it actually is. The thing is, there is one nuance that you'll have to pay attention to. You have to call an investor-friendly agent, or at least an agent who works with investors, right? And when I say that, so what I mean, so like probably like 90% of the agents, they will claim they are investor-friendly and they have no clue how to actually underwrite a deal, only probably like to the extent that I'll be sharing in the 3rd step in this video. Another day, so probably we'll just make another video. I'll show you in depth how to go and analyze one of those deals. When I bought my first investment property, so that was a few years ago, I was not licensed back then, and I went and I found one of those agents who actually was investing in real estate by himself. I was his first transaction, but I didn't mind going that road just because I knew he had already a few investment properties. He'd done a few flips, so he knew how the game works, right? So this is very important for you as well, because if you go to one of those investors that they do like a huge volume of deals and all that, probably they won't have time to work with you. But if you find somebody who is like 1 or 2 steps ahead of you, so that probably is going to be the best fit that you can actually learn and grow with them together. And then you can say, okay, so I call the agent and what I tell them. If you listen to the third step, actually you'll get a little bit prepared and you'll do your homework that you can actually talk a little bit easier with the agent. You're going to call that agent and going to say, hey, I'm going to buy one of the investment properties by the end of the year. So here is my price range. Here's the location that I want to be in. And basically that's what I'm looking for. And here are like 3-5 homes that I'm thinking of. Maybe we'll just jump on a call or maybe a Zoom meeting, and then we can analyze together. And you as a specialist in the field, you'll tell me exactly if I'm wrong or probably right on those investments, if those make sense or not. And also tell the deadline to that agent and the crystal clear criteria that you want to buy. So I'm promising you that that agent is gonna work their tail off and they are gonna find the exact property you need by the end of the year, and probably you'll close by then. Because there are like those clients kind of that they'll say, hey, like I want to buy an investment property, I want to be cool and all that stuff, and maybe I'll buy sometime next year, in 2 years, 5 years, maybe I'll buy in that area and that area. Trust me, that agent, he has to pay his bills first, or her bills first, right? They have to work for the clients that are actually committed. So that's just a quick tip that you can actually get your agent work for you. The second step is going to be you have to call your lender and tell them what you're planning exactly to do. If you don't own any kind of homes, real estate, so you tell that lender that I'm gonna buy a first primary residence, but with the intention that it will be rented out later, maybe in a year or 2. And some of those lenders, they'll tell you exactly, like what the requirement is. So you may need to live there for a year or more to be able to rent it out. But I will underwrite the deal the way that I can rent it out in a year or 2 and still be positive on my investment, right? So I will just call the lender and say, hey, I'm planning to buy an investment property by the end of the year, or I'm planning to buy my first home by the end of the year. So here is how much money I have for down payment. If you don't have a down payment, that could be doable as well. There are down payment assistance programs that can actually help you to get into your first home, and you will take it from there. So basically, the lender is gonna help you to decide what kind of loan is going to work for you, how much money for down payments you need, because you may buy with 0 down payment, you may buy with as low as 3.5%, 5%, but if you're buying as an investment property, probably you'll need a little bit more down payment. I've seen situations like as low as 10% for an investment property, but most probably you'll be required to put like 20, 25 and more. But even if you put like more skin in the game, so probably you'll have like better performing property at that point. And the third step is going to be learn how to underwrite those deals under 10 minutes, because you don't have time to do, analysis paralysis, spend a lot of time, just doing all those fancy spreadsheets and so on. And you never buy anything just because you don't know what's going on and all that stuff. To clear that confusion off, I'll tell you this, you have to see for how much you can rent it out. If it's, let's say, $3,000. And the best way to find out how much you can rent it out, so you can talk to your agent, they can find out on MLS, you can use Rentometer, like a website where you can run some numbers on the rent. But the easiest way and more precise way will be just open Zillow in the area you want to buy and look at similar homes and make sure there is the same criteria like size of the home, bedrooms, bathrooms, and the area where it's located. Make sure they fall under the same schools, because those are like some important criteria. Basically, you can say from that you probably need maybe like half an hour to analyze, and then you can tell for how much you can rent out that home. And if you see homes like sitting longer in the market, 30-40 days plus, and not too many views, no applications, because I think Zillow even shows you if there are applications or not. So probably if those homes are like $3,000, maybe you cannot rent them out like right away for the same amount. But the thing is, if you just pricing lower, let's say 2,800, so most probably your home is gonna go first. And versus when you have maybe like 7-10 days on the market, listed for $3,000, and then those properties are gone. So that gives you, and then you can see how many applications are on that home. So you can see those homes are desired in that area, so you can easily price in 3,000. So from there, you'll move on to the next step where you have to estimate what's going to be your expenses of carrying that property. The most important expense that you have to factor in is the mortgage payment. And in the mortgage payments, in most situations that I see, at least in my market, that will include PITI. So PITI is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Principal and interest, so those goes to the bank. Also from the escrow, from the mortgage payment, the taxes will be paid, and then insurance is gonna be paid as well, right? And then you will have to factor in some of the other expenses associated with that investment. And that will be maintenance and repairs. If you have to do some maintenance in the meantime, you know, like the tenant leaves and another one has to come in, so you'll need to do some cleaning, repairs, and so on. Another thing, you'll have to factor in the capital expenditures, CapEx. For the CapEx, it depends what kind of home you are buying, you know, like how old is the roof, how old is the furnace. You'll have to factor in all those expenses because at some point those break and you have to replace them. And if it's like a new construction, maybe just don't factor in the CapEx for the first 5 years, especially if that new construction has a warranty from the builder, right? Another thing that you'll have to factor in is the vacancy. The vacancy, if you just buy a single family home and you put like a nice family in it, they're gonna live there for 10 years, your vacancy basically drops to zero, right? Another thing you'll have to factor in is the management fee. If you're giving that property to be professionally managed by a company, so you'll have to pay that company. If you are doing the management by yourself, right? So a good thing is that you'll learn the ropes, how to do it. Another thing is you may still get some advantages, even tax advantages, maybe even save some money on W-2 if you're an employee, but you'll have to talk to your CPA to make sure that you are allowed to do and how you are allowed to do that. The next step is going to be you'll find out what's your cash on cash return. So basically you take the rental payment, you deduct all the expenses, what we talked about, and that number actually is going to give you the net cash flow per month, right? And then you multiply by 12, so that's going to be your cash flow per year. So basically if you are netting, let's say $200-300, you just multiply by 12, so that amount is going to be your annual cash on cash return. And then let's say you bought a $500,000 home, you put it 10% down, which is $50,000, and maybe you spend another $8,000 to $10,000 as a closing cost, inspection, and all those expenses to purchase that home. So basically you'll take what's the amount of cash on cash return divided by total investment that you've done, let's say $60,000. So that's gonna give you like the percentage on your investment, and that's only cash on cash return. So basically that's before, you know, like loan pay down, depreciation, appreciation, and so on. We'll break it down in another video. And what's the best thing I like here? Let's say in a matter of like a few years, that investment property appreciates, let's say 10-12%. Just for the sake of the numbers, let's say it appreciates another $60,000 in a few years, right? So it's like about 12%. So when you look at the number that you invested, $60,000, and if those $60,000 grow another $60,000, so that's exactly 100% return on your invested money. So I don't think there is another investment who will give you that leverage, and I'm talking about the leverage from the bank. So basically, if we put 10% in that home, the bank is gonna put another 90%. So they have 90% risk versus we have 10% risk in that investment property, but we have to benefit from all those, you know, like appreciation and all those upsides of that investments, right? Isn't it a good deal? Another thing is if you are a high income earner, so most probably every single year you have to work for making great money. And another thing, so most probably you pay a lot of money in taxes, right? So in some situations, those investments can help you offset some of those taxes, but make sure you talk to your CPA. If you don't know like a good CPA, you can reach out to me. I'll recommend one. Even one well-chosen investment can change the trajectory for the whole life. And if you have any questions that you want me to cover, or maybe some ideas that you want me to break it down in a video, just let me know, just put it in a comment below. I'll make sure to cover that as well. I hope this video was helpful. Hit the like button and subscribe, and stay tuned for no BS content further on that you can use as a guide to buy your first or fifth investment property and scale from there. And the most important is, send this video to that guy or friend that you know who is maybe I'll buy next year. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one, and take care everybody.